We've had a look at worksheet events, we've had a look at workbook events, and where to add their code into your Visual Basic editor so that they work with your workbook or worksheet. Now there are a number of other events that don't fall really under either of those banners, and these are application events. Now we have a couple of files in your working folder. If you'd like to open KeyPress and Speaking Sheet, always enabling.
Welcome to my new workbook.
There we've got a bit of speech, so we've already seen what that one does. This is the Speaking Sheet XLM. We saw that it gave us a welcome in verbal format, and it also says welcome to my new workbook. Now what you'll particularly find with this one is that in 10 seconds time we'll also get another message.
It's late and time for bed.
Which isn't bad 10 seconds into doing any kind of work. Now this is all triggered by two special application events. If we have a look in the Visual Basic, and we need to look firstly in the module for this particular workbook, and you'll see there are two subroutines in here. One called sub it's late, and this has application.onTime. So this is a special method of the application object. Application.onTime is then followed by the time element, which is here. In our case, we've gone for now plus 10 seconds, and then followed by a comma, followed by the procedure we'd like to run at that point. Now the time element here can be any time of the day. Bear in mind that Excel treats time as a proportion of the day. So 1 is midnight, half is midday, a quarter is 6 AM, and 3/4 is 6 PM. And then any other proportion of the 1 is that much through the day. This procedure here is also defined in your module 1. We see it down here, and it's the little bit application.speech. So this is another method of the application object. Application.speech.speak. So we have an action here, and then it reads out exactly what's in your set of speech marks. So in this case, it's late and time for bed. Now neither of these will work without a trigger to call the it's late, because the say late is triggered by it's late, but the it's late, as we currently see it, is not triggered by anything. But we have a look in the this workbook code sheet. You see we're using the workbook open trigger to do the application.speech.speak welcome to my new workbook, which we heard when the workbook was opened. It was also backed up by a visual message using the message box, just in case people don't have their speakers on. Therefore, they're not going to hear the speech part. And then we have a call, and we're calling it's late. So effectively, we want to run it's late. So the it's late procedure. The it's late procedure, which is defined in module 1, sets the timer off, and 10 seconds later runs the say late procedure, which is this procedure here. So that's using two methods there of the application object. Application.onTime starts a timer, and once the timer has effectively elapsed, another procedure is run. That application.onTime can take time elements as a proportion of your full day. The application.speech method then allows you to use the system's speakers to put text out in audio format. Bear in mind that anyone with the sound off will not hear that audio format, so it's usually useful to back that up with a message box as well, which we actually haven't done here, but we did do on the opening trigger. So that's the speaking sheet using the application.speech and the application.onTime. If we then take a look at the KeyPress, what we can also do is effectively overwrite the keyboard commands that come with pretty much any system, not just Excel. So if I were to use the little down arrow keys, you would expect to go down 1 cell. However, we jump down 10. If we go to the right, again, you would expect to jump 1 cell. We in fact jump 10, and we keep jumping 10 to the right, or down, or left, or up, until we can go no further in either direction. Now what we've done there is effectively hijacked the key press commands for the down arrow, the up arrow, the left arrow, and the right arrow. And we do that through a nice little bit of Visual Basic. What you'll find is in this sheet, is a module 1 code sheet being added, and in there we have a number of routines. The first of those is called setup keys, and this effectively tells Excel what to do when any of the given keys are pressed. So we have application.onKey. So application object.onKey is the method that we're capturing, and then firstly here is the key press we would like to capture. The key press is always encompassed in speech marks and then parentheses, and then what you put between the parentheses is the key press you are trying to capture. Now for the special keys, as we've done here, down, up, left and right, you could be guessing all the time, or you could do a search within the VBA help for onKey, which will bring you to this page where you can see these are the key descriptions that we're used to, and that's determined here by what you would put in the VBA. So they all have parentheses around them. You can see a backspace is either backspace or BS. Delete is delete or del. Here's our down key that we've captured. We've got escape, help, insert, home, left. We can capture any of the function keys, and we can combine any of the function keys with Shift, Control and Alt by putting a plus in front, a caret in front, or a percentage sign in front. So they are listed in the help if you go and search for onKey. So that saves you having to remember what all of these are. Most of them are logical. So end for end is logical, enter for enter is logical. So in our file, we've captured in the down key, the up key, the left key and the right key. And then after the comma in each of the onKey commands, we then tell it what routine to run. So which procedure would we like to run? So when somebody presses the down arrow, I'd like to run the move down sub. Let's have a look at the move down sub. Very simple. It has two lines. One is, as we will recognize from earlier, active cell to offset 10, 0. So that's going to move us down 10 cells. And you can see the up moves you up by going -10. So that's going to go up 10 cells. The right is 0, 10. So nothing on the vertical, but 10 on the horizontal. So we're going 10 to the right, and then -10 here to go 10 to the left. Now there is an extra line in each of these that will be explained when we look at the debugging and error handling. This is the simplest of error handlers and effectively says if there's an error, just carry on with the next thing. Now the reason we've added these in for these commands is there will be an error if we try to go too far left or too far up from the existence of cells. So when we're in row 1, for example, if we were trying to go -10, there isn't a cell -10, therefore the routine would crash. However, we've said if there's an error, just resume the next command. So effectively ignore the problem. So it's not really handling it, it's just skipping over it. But we look at all these error handlers when we look at error handling and debugging. So we've created 4 sub-procedures. We've created 4 triggers for each of those sub-procedures. What we then need to do, pretty similar really to the timer, is to make sure that in this workbook, we actually trigger the setup keys. So that's the first of those procedures has to be triggered. So effectively setting the keys up, and that's done when the workbook is opened. So when this workbook is opened, we call setup keys. That then sets the down arrow, the up arrow, the left arrow and the right arrow to do something different to normal. So when you're in the Excel file, regardless of which sheet you're in, you'll find that you're jumping 10 cells in each of the directions when you press the arrow key instead of the normal one. And when you hit the top and you can't go back 10 cells or up 10 cells, no error happens, just nothing. You just don't go further left. There is one slight problem with hijacking the key presses in that even if we close this file, so I close the key press file, you'll find that those keystrokes have still been hijacked. And I'm still jumping 10 in each direction. So if you are hijacking keystrokes to use in a particular file, what you'll need to do is use the before close trigger on the workbook to effectively reset all of those keystrokes back to what they should be doing. Otherwise, they will continue to do them until you actually exit Excel. They don't continue to do them forever, luckily, but they will continue to do them whilst that session of Excel is still open. So in that file, you would need to make sure that in your code you created effectively a disable or reset keys more than disable, because we don't want to disable the down and up arrow, we want to reset them. So I'd take a whole copy of this and we'll call them move left sub RE. We'll call these all RE at the end for reset. And we'll call the routine that calls them reset keys. These need to be calling RE, 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 RE. And we revert these back to going one cell in each direction. So that when we exit, the normal state of play is returned. So what we then need to do is trigger the reset keys using this workbook and add in a workbook before close, where we're going to call reset keys. So when we close the workbook, the key presses will be reset. That will then run reset keys, which we have here, reset keys, which effectively reassigns what will happen to each of the 4 key presses, which will reset these procedures to go one down, one up, one to the right, one to the left. So at the moment, we're still going 10, 10, 10. Let's close this book. Then we find we've had the key presses reset and we now only happen to go 1 key in each direction. So here we've seen the special use of the application object using a number of methods: application on key, application on time, and the clever little application.speech.